Hey, so what the goal of this is I've got now, it all looks the same, but this is now a new setup. I've changed the captures from Elgato cam links to Blackmagic, so all these HDMI inputs now, including like the overhead, are captured by the cam link. By the Blackmagic now. So we've got 10-bit color depth instead of the 8, and the smoothness, it shouldn't like lag anymore because the USB lanes were getting completely destroyed, having so many USBs on the computer. So with that, I've now got the new camera, so I just want to do a quick stream basically to make sure this new setup's working and doesn't crash. TikTok's definitely dead as well, does not let me live stream. So I've put TikTok on again just to be sure, but it's sitting there doing nothing. Let me just check the phone, see if that's also showing nothing. So I'll have to figure out why TikTok is not streaming. Maybe I said it before, just disconnect it fully from the account and re-add it maybe. Let me just double check if I'm actually live on there or not. Yeah, so that's just literally not going live, so I'll figure that one out the next time I go live. So yeah, what I want to do is basically just run a quick stream, make sure all this new setup isn't going to crash because of all the new cameras. But I also have a new, I said I wanted to do this microscope thing, so got not enough room for me drink. I wanted to get it so when I'm doing the microscope setup, I want to solder with some depth perception like this. You guys can now hopefully go through the microscope. So now look how ridiculously zoomed that is. So let me bring my finger in. There's my finger. Can't even see it, it's that zoomed. Let me zoom up. There is my fingernail. How crazy is that? So if I zoom out, you can see that's like the scope zoomed out. But now you guys can see the actual scope, and I can work away and actually have some depth perception while I'm working. You can see it's got a very shallow depth of field though, so this writing, even though I've got polarizers, so I can turn the light. And you can see mainly on the gold if I turn the polarizer and maybe turn these off. You can see the change in color in the gold as I turn the polarizer. So you can get like decent view on writing by turning it, even though it's like squeaky. So you can see that text, but if we zoom in, you can see an incredible shallow depth of field. So if I put the lights back on, you can see like the solder pads on here are in focus just about, but then even the top of the chip goes out of focus. So that's focused on the actual PCB solder point. That goes up to the top of the chip. So you can now see the writing on the top, but the legs are starting to blur. So it's got an incredibly shallow depth of field. Is the only thing with a microscope, but at least if I need to work on something where I need the actual depth perception, you guys can see something like this instead of just my big head. If we went to like say the overhead and I was trying to work, on this, zoomed in instead. So say I did that, and then I'm trying to solder, you just get the big head cam. So at least if I need to do that, we have a scope now. So the microscope's in and running. So that's another thing I've done. But now I've done that, I figured the other thing I wanted to do, we've got the Blackmagic now capturing all this footage. So instead of it going through USB, it's going through PCIe. So it's smoother. We've got the microscope I kept wanting to do. And the last thing I wanted to do is when I'm playing the games, we have lag. So if I pull up what should be, I presume, the PlayStation turned on. So that's the PlayStation here, just on the memory memory card screen, well, on the main homepage, I want to be able to play on the CRT while you guys are seeing it on the stream. Now, if I go on the HDMI stream now, this is that laggy, it's hard to play. So what I want to do is, for now, I've got RGB and composite. I've got 2 ideas to do both. I think I can do both the same way, but composite's a nice, easy one. So what I want to do, I use, at the minute, if I disconnect all this, I currently use a retro scaler for the composite. So composite goes in, and then HDMI comes out to the capture card. Now, I've got composite in my CRT to the side of me, and what I want to do is pass it in the CRT, come back out, pass it into this, and have it dual streaming. So this is capturing the composite, and I'm playing on the Trinitron. Thinking of a device and what I need to buy, I realised I make the hardware, so I can literally use the clean RGB board. And what I'm going to do is modify this. I'm going to open this up, modify it. We're going to pass in the composite here and the audio. That's going to go out to HDMI, and it'll tap back off onto the clean RGB board, if I can. I'm pretty sure I can, and get a second feed of composite back out. So what I'm going to do instead is pass the video into here, comes out to HDMI onto the stream, but as well as that, it's going to come back out of this through the clean RGB, which can also do composite, and go to the CRT. So that's the goal. So just going to be a quick task, hopefully. So I thought it was a perfect little thing to do while we're testing the new stream setup, basically. So that's going to be the goal. So the first thing we need to do is, this will need 5 volts, basically. So it's got USB micro. I could probably want to do USB-C, but whether I can be bothered to do that at the minute, I might just cut an extension lead and pass that out. I don't care about this casing either, because this is just sitting on my desk, so I'll probably just leave the casing off. The goal on this is functionality, basically. So if we zoom out, I don't think I've even got the right tip on this for getting these screws out, but yeah, that one works fine. Hey, welcome in, guys. Yeah. 2 holes are thinner than the others, so I've either got to use the wrong tip and force, or the right tip and open the plastic. So this is inside. I'm not gonna, I mean, it looks nice, we might restore this, but I'm just going to modify this for now. What we're doing, for those that are joining a little bit late, is we have now a new setup where I mentioned we've now got all this camera footage now is running through PCIe on the PC instead of USB. So instead of like running 4 cam links, I've just plugged in the Blackmagic deck link instead, which captures 4K HDMI times 4. So all this is now running through the PCIe lanes, which is quicker for the PC. And while I've done that, I've also wired in what I said I was going to, which is this microscope. So now if I put some lights on this board, go over with the microscope, and it looks kind of focused there. And we can now click on the microscope, and you guys can see what I'm seeing on the microscope. So again, it's not as good as the overhead cam in terms of quality, but you can get a lot zoomier. So for example, there's a cap. You can go to absolutely ridiculous zoom and focus in, so you can even see the quality of the solder joints and the writing. Got a bit of aberration on the C there, for example, but I won't be zooming in this much when I'm working. It's nice to have that feature, but basically it's so that I could work on these boards if I wanted to, and you guys can, like, watch while I sort of go under and solder, but I can now actually see what I'm doing. So we've got that set up as well. So I can actually use the microscope when I need to now, instead of struggling. But what I want to do is pass the composite video from the, in this case, like the PlayStation. I want to pass the composite video not only into the stream, but also into the real CRT. So I'm just going to have the composite come in here, pass through the clean RGB, so it can go, hopefully what I'm thinking, it might not work, we might have to do like a dual setup where we double buffer, but I'm thinking what we can do is have the composite come in here, be buffered in at the same time as actually being connected physically out to the CRT, and hoping that that input can still be usable even though it's loaded down, and then the output goes back out to HDMI. So what I think we'll do is the one that comes in, or the one that's going to go in from the CRT, it's probably going to be, I think, a flex lead. Have we got one? So I think, and I'm only bothered in this case about passing the composite into the stream. The audio can come out of the actual CRT because the microphone's what's picking up the audio. So I'm just going to pass through the yellow composite. So I think what we'll do is have this flying lead. I've just got to think this through. I haven't figured this out. This is literally me thinking on the fly what we're going to do here. But I've got effectively a composite extension here. And I think if I keep this, the flying lead, so this can be plugged into the, how are we going to do this? Yeah, I really haven't thought it through. We want to plug it into the CRT, but we need to split the cable off and go into here at the same time. And the CRT is on this. So what I actually need is, yeah, I need to split the cable and solder one end onto the input. So I have, this is going to the CRT, and then we plug in the console into here. So then I want this to go off to the CRT, but also off to this device. So I need to actually tap into these pins and have another cable coming off like this. So we need to solder these on here, cut them ends off, and then we have this going off to this device. So that goes off to there, and it also then goes off to the CRT. So it sounds a bit complicated, but basically what we're doing is we're having the signal go to the actual CRT, but also into this at the same time. That's what I think we need to do. And we only need it on the yellow. So what I'm going to do is cut this here, we'll resolder, and strip this down. Then we have the ground and the video signal. And then we want this lead, which is an extension, and we only need the yellow in this instance for now. So the yellow wants to tap off there. These two can just dangle for now. We don't really care about those until we see if this works. That's not needed. This one will be needed. This is confusing. Seems simple in my head, and now I'm coming to implement it. I'm realizing I haven't really thought much about this. I thought, oh, that's a good idea, that'll work, and then I'm thinking to myself, maybe this won't work the way I'm thinking. We'll get it working, but the way I've thought in my head, maybe this is not the way, but we'll see. We'll soon find out. And if it doesn't work this way, we can use two. Oh, actually, we can do this. I've just thought of another way, which is probably actually better. So instead of loading down the CRT, we can actually pass the original input from the console into there, which means I didn't need to cut this cable. No, I did, the other end. Jeez, should definitely put some more thought into this before I started streaming. So this is going to be the console coming in. The console is going to go out and into this first. So yeah, that's right. So the very first point of the signal coming in is we're going to plug the console into here. This is then now the lead that is here. So this is now going to go in to, and we only need one channel, so we're going to just use the red channel. We'll need to send ground to ground, so we're going to have to strip that back a bit more. Yeah, this will definitely work. So we've got hey, welcome in. Do a multi-stream from OBS, I do. Not from OBS, sorry. I used to multi-stream from OBS, and now I multi-stream from Streamlabs, but it's not working on TikTok at the minute. I think I just need to relink the account. It says we're streaming and we're not. It's doing nothing. So I can like close that stream. It's been doing it for the last few. Well, the stream today, really. I've done 3 streams today. A small one, and then restarted it because it didn't work. With TikTok, started it again, still didn't work. And then I've just jumped on for a quick, completely not planned stream. And I'm trying to think my way through what I'm even doing at this stage. But I think I figured it out now. And it all makes sense when, hopefully it works. I can then show you the physical setup and explain it a bit more. Right, so we have now, what will happen here is the console is going to come in through red. We'll ignore the fact it says red. This is now going to be composite video. Because it's composite video, we will turn on this low pass filter because we want this filtering out composite noise. So this is like a 4 megahertz filter. You don't want that on RGB because it's sharp, but on composite, that's actually a good thing. So we've got the filter on. That means we can tune the composite here and it won't get loaded down. And now the output of the red can go to the CRT. But before we do that, we'd want to send... Yeah, the output would get loaded down. Is there actually a way around this? Because you want the... Yeah, there is. What we want to do is link the inputs across here. So we have 3 inputs, all the same, that aren't loaded down. That's what we want to do. So we only need 2. So we're now going to link the red and the green channels together, which means we have 2 buffers of the same signal. So the original source signal, that's definitely what we need. And then we can send one out to the CRT on the red and one out to the converter on the green. And both of them won't be loaded down from the original signal. So the original signal stays pure. But then we have 2 outputs of the exact same video signal. One can go to HDMI and one can go to my CRT. And we should see the exact same image, but my CRT will have no stream delay. Whereas, obviously the HDMI one will, but it won't matter because you guys aren't the ones physically like playing the console, so the delay for you won't matter. So that's now going to send the 2 signals in, and we'll have this one now going out to the CRT, which means if we go back to this, the CRT is here that I cut the end off. So this now goes to the actual CRT. So this now needs to solder onto here. And as I mentioned, I'm not really bothered about this being just floating. I can figure all this wiring out and rewire it if I want to house it. So I don't mind that this is all, you know, just floating bare wires because it's a setup that is right next to me and I can enclose it if I want after. So this is CRT, which we'll use as the red. And this will be pretty cool because then I haven't had to buy one. Hey, welcome in. Oh, we had epilepsy. I actually thought I had epilepsy a few years ago, to be honest. I had... What did I have going on? I was having weird brain things, like I thought I'd had a stroke, basically. I'd like collapsed to the floor and one side of my body was as if, you know, the classic stroke symptoms. And it turns out it's just my migraines that I get were getting worse and they can actually make you seem like you're having epileptic auras and stuff. So I had to have MRIs and everything and was convinced I'd got epilepsy, but no, I suffer from crazy migraines. Not so much for the last few months, but yeah, not good. I can imagine how it feels for you because I get the same kind of brain fire when I get really bad headaches. I actually saw the guy I saw at, I think it was a private thing. I think I went to pay to get it looked at quick. He actually suffered from migraines himself as well and said he has similar things where it's, and he says it's very similar to epilepsy. Like he has to go home because he's a doctor when he gets really bad migraines because he can't actually talk. Like it physically stops your brain working, and that's what I get sometimes now when I get really bad migraines. Is I literally, my brain doesn't work right. It's crazy. New Legacy Arduino Tommy Robinson New Art. Not seen anything about that, to be honest. Might have a look of it tonight. External power. This will need 5 volts. It doesn't need much. But what we'll do is we'll pass the USB-C into the retro scaler. And then we'll share that out. So I could basically, this can sit inside of here, really. We can just tape it for now, for all I care. So we'll figure that one out in a minute. So we have, this is so confusing. Where's this going? Right, so we have console coming in. Console goes into board. Audio goes to screen. This we don't care about. So let me just, I'll cut these off just for, do I need to cut them off? No, I'm going to tape them on because they're confusing me, because we're not going to use those, basically. Because the audio, I'm not passing through or doing anything with the audio at the minute. I'm just letting that run through the CRT. So if you want to hear something playing, I'll turn the CRT on, basically. Right, so we have the buffered console coming in here. This straight to CRT for audio, simple as that. The video comes out of here, goes into the buffers, comes back out of here, which then goes to the CRT. Yep, that's right. So now what's left? We now need to send this green output into the input of this, which means we could have probably used that port in some way instead of soldering one of these, but I guess that doesn't matter now. Instead, what I can do is solder to it. Yeah, so we need a wire from here into here, and we don't need them 2 bits. How is something so simple so complicated to think about? Oh no, definitely. I can. It's like I say, I can only imagine from the fact that how it affects me when I get bad headaches is what they told me is very similar to that. So it's yeah, it's not nice. It's definitely. I think the thing that messes with your brain is the freakiest part, that your brain doesn't, function as it would. It's like weird. You're like there, but you can't get like words out and stuff. At least for, do you get like the auras as well? Because that's what they kind of told me, like a precursor warning that something's about to happen, or do you just get instantly into sort of seizures? Because I guess there's a lot of different types as well, isn't there? Which is a whole new avenue. Right, so we need ground on this. What are these audios doing? Are these the other end of the audio we don't need? Yes, they are. So let's take them up as well. Hey, welcome in, guys. We are just mainly just testing out the new setup works. This is, even though it looks the same, this is all running through new equipment for capturing the screens. So I just want to make sure this still works, and then I'm trying to duplicate composite video using a clean RGB, so we can have one feed going to the CRT and one going through HDMI. That's what I'm trying to figure out here. Hey, welcome in, James. So pretty much I was just explaining. Well, I'm trying to explain. I'm not doing the best job at the minute. We have, say, a PlayStation that's got, at the minute, composite video. And I either normally plug it into, like, the retro scaler to go to the stream on screen. So, like, I can pull up this on screen, say, and get, like, whatever goes in composite up on HDMI. But because there's a big lag doing that, like there's a HDMI and stream lag, I want to, instead of passing it through this and to the HDMI, I want to pass it through my CRT first, then back out and onto the stream. So instead of buying something, I'm trying to use my clean RGB PCB to buffer the input now. So the console's now going to go into this PCB. So this is the input from the console. I'm going to double buffer it, so it's going to come through a red and a green channel. Then the first output will go back to the CRT on the same cable it would originally have gone to. And that leaves us now with a second output that can now go into this, which then goes up to the stream via HDMI. So in theory, it's simple. I think it's just late and the brain's not working the best. So trying to think through what I'm doing. I had an idea and went, oh, that's easy. I'll do a quick stream on it. And then as soon as I got on stream, I was like, oh yeah, my idea isn't going to work. The idea I had doesn't work. So I'm trying to figure out what to do. I think I've figured it out now, but we will see. Right, so we've got a ground there. We've got a 5-volt in on the switch. So I'm guessing one of these will be the 5-volt. So power's on. 5-volt on the buzz. That's ground, so that you'd think would be power, which it is. So 5-volt power there. Why is it not there? Oh, it is. So now that's showing. So we can tap 5 volts off this wire here if we want, or this cap here. Yeah, that sounds literally so familiar with what I had once, which maybe I had a seizure at the time then, or a bit of epilepsy, because like I say, I basically had it came on from an insanely bad migraine. I was literally headbutting the wall. I chucked my phone at the wall, put a hole in it. Didn't know what to do with myself. It was that bad. I was literally crawling the walls. And then out of the blue, I got like aggression as well, like just flipped, that couldn't control what was going on. Fell to the floor, couldn't talk. Then I had, a few months later, I was at work sitting away, and all of a sudden I couldn't think of a word. I couldn't think of, like, say, what you drink, say coffee. I could talk, but I was like, I couldn't process. It was so hard to explain. And I told the guy that was working for me, I literally just went, ask me a question, because I couldn't think. And he was like, what do you mean? I was just like, ask me a question. And he was like, I don't know, what's the weather like? And then I was like, I don't know. I can't. I literally couldn't say. I could hear what he was saying. I could understand, but I couldn't answer. So I drove home. I was going to call the ambulance. And on the way up, driving up home, I was trying to recite the alphabet. And I realized I couldn't recite the alphabet. I was like, what in the fuck is going on? It was like so strange. Had that just a couple of times, and then I've never had it since. But it was all linked in. Well, a few times it was linked with migraines, and a few times it was random. But that's now been a few years, and I've never had it since. But I don't know, maybe that's something that just happened with stress or migraines or what. But yeah, I was convinced it was epilepsy I was developing, and then it's never turned into anything since. But yeah, strange. The brain is a very strange thing. Right, so 5 volts we'll tap on with a nice thin wire. The only thing with this slightly cheaper iron is it does take a little bit of time to warm up. When I take it out the iron, the holder, the slightly more expensive one, turns out, like, heats up instantly. This does take a few seconds to warm up. So we're going to tap 5 volts off this. This is going to be fairly close, but I'm just going to run the wires a bit long for now so we can work on it. Yeah, I'm only doing a quick stream. It's just a little bit too early to knock off, I think. I just wanted to test the new setup, and I figured I might as well try and get this composite thing working while I'm at it. So where do we go with the 5 volts? I think we'll just tap off this cap, considering it's right here. Yeah, I probably did have a seizure then or something at the time. But I guess, I don't know, I guess you can get them randomly, one-offs. It never really happened. The other thing I had, that I think before that, this was when I was going through a lot of stress as well, by the way. And I was having, the only way I could explain it is complete and utter fear. So I'd be sitting away, say working on the computer, and for absolutely no reason, shit scared, like someone was going to kill me or my life was going to end, and there was no trigger to it, no nothing, like no reason for it. I'd just be sitting here away, and then out the blue, felt sick and scared to my stomach, and had to go run and find like the missus to say, just, you know, be with me a minute, I'm scared, and I had no idea why. That kept happening for a short while before I had that kind of big episode. And I think that was panic attacks. I think that was just stress. When I was going through stress, I think that's all that was basically. But yeah, I had some funky shit going on in my head a few years ago. It was all related to stress, basically. Stress in business, really. Yeah, I've never really had much since, and I've made things less stressful in my life, and we've got things all going well. So that definitely helps out. But yeah, I think stress can do quite a lot more than you think. So that's the ground. The ground we can tap off on probably the other side of that cap. So have a look. Yep, so we'll go the other side of the cap for ground. Pop this on as well. It's definitely getting to my throat a little bit, this solder fumes at the minute. Right, so that's there. How we didn't put the wire. And then the only thing we're doing here is really we're basically buffering the signal, so we're not even like changing the scale. We just want the signal to come in and go back out the same value it was. So we might have to change a few resistors on the clean RGB to make this work, but I'm sure we can get it working. Fume extractor, no, I'm pretty bad with it, to be honest. Like I say, my throat's quite bad at the minute, which I had the other day. I get told off all the time for not using the fume extractor, and I should, but I've got a really tight throat at the minute. Funny enough, just as we're talking about all this stuff, I've got like a tight throat from it, so I've just put it back on. But no, I was probably working even more with solder as well, like you say. But there was just so much going on a few years ago in my life, stress-wise. So I just put everything down to stress, because once I got rid of the stress and sorted things out, all of it kind of went away. So that was like my explanation for it. Plus, I've had migraines all my life, so you just deal with pain and funny heads, and you just ignore it. You just treat it like it's normal. So I think that is, if I've done, no, we missed one thing. We now need the green. This is now the second output to go to the composite here. And then we've done all the wiring. So we don't want the ground, which that apparently isn't, but we do want the inner pin. Which can I get? This is going to make me remove it to get to that pin, isn't it? There's a pin in there for composite. I think this just pulls out anyway, to be honest. Yep, it's just taped in, so let's lift this out to get underneath. Well, it's not even taped in, it's just clipped in. Right, so we want to get, I presume, so it's actually that one which goes to the second pin under there, to that pin there. So yeah, we'll just tack a wire onto this pin here, which is composite in, and that'll act like the cable's been plugged in there. Yeah, I think it's definitely I've had a bit of irritation in the throat for a few weeks on and off, like just, you know, when like you get a hair at the back of your throat and it feels like something's stuck. It's like that now. It's as if something's basically stuck in the throat, but it isn't. Normally clears off within a few minutes, but yeah, I'm sure all these fumes don't help. I should definitely try to use the fume extractor a lot more than I do. We did buy the air purifier I've got behind me. That has helped a lot with the air quality in this room. But yeah, the fumes we probably want to treat a bit more with care, I guess. Might be nothing to do with that, but yeah, you shouldn't really be breathing the fumes. It's obviously not good for you to breathe random smoke coming off of flux and solder. That's that one. Alright, so if we've done this right, we should now have a setup we can just tune, and this should work. So let's find out. So we're going to need the oscilloscope. We're going to need actually a ground wire, and that can flip over now. Let's try and get this in the case in some form. So that goes that way. And I did want to convert this to USB-C, but for now, we'll try and get it working first before we tackle that. Right, there we go, that's in. It'd be nice to fit this in here, which it would fit in. So we could plonk this in, have these cables, put a little cut in the casing and put the lid back on when we're done. And this could just live in here and be a bit more discreet. So for now, we're going to have to power this up, which means we'll need 5 volts from here. We need a micro USB end. We need the ground wire before we do that. That's one thing we said. Where's the ground wire? Then we'll tack this on the top. We got issues with the stream now. Let's give it a second. Let me pull up the stream, see if I think it's I don't know, the Streamlabs are struggling. Let me just open up YouTube Retro 6 live. It's working for me on it's working for me on YouTube at the minute. I'm live on, literally live on YouTube at the minute. That seems fine. Let me open up Twitch and Facebook. Let's see if they're working on here. Failed on the stream. Yeah, I'll stop and start the stream. I think something's gone funky with it. So